As usual, I forget to put my mic on. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending whether you're seeing us live or you're seeing a recording, and also depending on the time zone in which you are following us. So, welcome to another live stream on the topic of cyberbullying. We already have a few people with us. João Maruta says, go, go, go. Good evening and welcome, João Maruta. We also have Edith Utete saying hello from Zimbabwe. So hello and welcome, Edith. It's nice to see you again with us. And we are I'm going to have the company of my fellow co-author for this session, and allow me to bring her in. So, hello and welcome, Sonia. How are you doing?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Have a nice session today.
Yes, we will. Just to tell us a bit about ourselves as well. Together with Sonia and Luis Fernandes, who will probably be watching us, we wrote a book on cyberbullying in 2016 called Cyberbullying, a Guide for Parents and Educators. It was published in Portugal. This was in 2016. Before that, Sonia Luis published also another book, Plan Bullying, How to Erase Bullying from School. And this was mostly directed at school administrators and teachers. And also Sonia, together with Luis, have also published Say No to Bullying, Don't Let Them Hurt You, which is directed mostly at teenagers and pre-teens. So tonight we're going to have a guest. The topic that our guest will be presenting will be digital parenting, helping teens choose kindness in the age of trolls and cyberbullying. And as a summary for our sessions, we have the majority of teens that own smartphones today, and statistics that say that over 50% of them experience some form of online bullying or harassment. This session will equip parents, students, and communities to develop digital resilience, improve our own online behavior, and become upstanders. The fact is, cyberbullying is human behavior. We may never eliminate online hate, but we can control how we respond to it. Kindness starts with us, and this is really a great our guest. Kindness starts with us. Welcome, Sue. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Let me just say a few words. You're welcome. Sue Scheff is the author of Shame Nation and Family Internet Safety Expert. Sue Scheff is a nationally recognized author, parent advocate, and family internet safety expert. She founded Parents Universal Resources Experts Inc. in 2000. Published 3 books, which ended in 2009, with a foreword by Michael Fertik, and her latest book is Shame Nation: The Global Epidemic of Online Hate, with a foreword by Monica Lewinsky. Sue Scheff is also a contributor for Psychology Today, Parents, HuffPost, NBC's Education Nation, Washington Post, Orlando Sentinel, and more. She has been featured on ABC 2020, to the News with Katie Couric, Rachael Ray Show, Dr. Phil, and more. Sue Scheff has also been in USA Today, LA Times, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, AARP, just to name a few. So to have you with us. Let me that I got to Sue's work on a Facebook group called Social Networking, on social networking, and I have been following. She posts there regularly. Welcome, Sue. And shall we start with just let me? There's a few more people joining in, so let me welcome them as well. Marisa Monteiro says good night to us all, and she's following us from the Netherlands. And we also have with us Bianca Philo, which says hi Marisa. So I'm guessing that Bianca is also following us from the Netherlands. Just a note to those that are following us, it's over a dozen people already following this live, that you feel free to ask any questions, make any comments and any suggestions using the comments, and I'll be able to bring those questions and comments into the conversation, into the live stream as Sue is presenting. So without further ado, let me bring Sue's presentation on digital parenting, helping teens choose kindness in an age of trolling and cyberbullying. So the floor is yours, Sue.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm truly honored to be here, and I really want to thank everyone that's listening tonight and whenever they're listening, because that means they're being proactive and taking an opportunity to learn about how to bring kindness to all these cyber platforms. We are living in a time today where the majority of us are online. So we're looking at online hate, cyberbullying, sexting scandals, ugly poll contests. So again, now, like you said here, welcome to Shame Nation. We do have the majority of young people today that have witnessed or have been victims of some form of online harassment. So when we ask the question, how can we help them choose kindness today in this age of trolling and harassment? It only comes back to one answer. It starts with us. You can go ahead and move this slide forward. So what I'm going to bring to you today is 3 ways that we can help teens choose kindness. We can move the slide, and that's by becoming their cyber mentors. By number 1, improving our own online behavior so that it helps us avoid making those digital blunders and digital disasters. Go back 1. Number 2, go back 1, just back to slide 1.
Sorry.
Yeah, just slide. Because number 2 is digital resilience. This is what I'm going to discuss tonight here. The first one is online behavior.
Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. And then number 2 is digital resilience. I'm going to go into a little bit of digital resilience, because by developing digital resilience, it prepares our kids for the ugly side of social media. And number 3 is helping our kids become upstanders, because by becoming an upstander, it actually activates their empathy so that when they see people struggling online, they're going to reach out to them. So let's get started with part 1, which is improving our own online behavior. So now you can click, which begins with the 3 C's. And the 3 C's is grounded in civility. So I'm going to discuss 3 C's and then 5 ways to rethink how we share online, because part of cyberbullying actually stems from people oversharing online. So I'm going to discuss 5 ways to rethink how we share online and the 3 C's. So let's start with, we can go on to the next slide. Number 1, our conduct. We could click to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. We are living today in some pretty contentious times, probably all over the world, I would say. So all of us need to take time to check in with ourselves, become more self-aware of how we're feeling before we click on the internet and hit send. So check in with yourself. You never want to put a temporary emotion on the permanent internet. In other words, are you pissed off? Are you nervous? Are you angry? Anger is temporary. Online is forever. Content. More and more, we're reading headlines every day of tweet regrets, post remorse. We read about people being fired from a stupid tweet. We read about kids losing scholarships at colleges. Think about the content that you're about to post online, because what you post today can and will come back to haunt you tomorrow. I put on there, know your emojis, because so many people out there are using emojis very freely without actually knowing the meanings of them, especially us elderly. I'm almost 60. And there are certain emojis. And for those of you out there that don't know the meaning of an eggplant, learn it before you use it, because I used it to the wrong person at the wrong time. And my son almost like, Mom, you before you use them. Content matters. Caring. Most of us know to care for each other, but care enough about yourself to know when to click out. If you're about to leave that snarky comment, stop. When in doubt, click out. Move on. We can move on now. Now I want to talk about the 5 ways to rethink how we share online. Is it necessary? Are you social sharing for your platform or oversharing for your ego? We have so many people out there that have this urge that they have to share when they're eating a donut or going on vacation or this. There's actually a couple of studies out there. UCLA came out with a study that said people who overshare online are less likely to receive empathy or help if they get bullied or harassed online. And it makes sense. Harvard came out with a study that said people that overshare online are actually looked at as frauds and even less than genuine people. So keep that in mind. And the moral of that is everything we do online, offline doesn't need to be documented online. And how can we avoid this? By not posting in haste. Stop, pause, think, does this really need to go down my social media feed? Likely it doesn't. Emotional sharing. Are you fighting with your spouse, angry with that teenager? Social media is not a venting machine. It's not a diary. Your cyber friends are not your cyber therapists. Take it offline and go have a good session of wine and wine with your friends. Number 3, I know. If anyone has questions, please pop in and ask me at any time. Inappropriate.
If you allow me to interrupt you,
Sure.
Sue, a few have other people have joined in, so let me just welcome them to the show, and one of them is a regular, Abilio Carvalho, saying he's connecting from Gaia. Even if he has some problems speaking English, he understands perfectly what you're saying, and if he has any questions, he'll ask them in Portuguese and we'll translate them. So welcome, Abilio. Another one is Antonio João Silva, also a regular. He's following us from Braga, and he's saying a good evening to you. And also Marta Melo says hello from Portugal. Marta, welcome. Nice to see you too on this session. And going back, as you were saying,
I'm so impressed.
Feel free.
All the people around the world.
Yeah, and if you feel free to ask any questions, and I'll bring your comments or questions into the live stream.
Yeah, please do. Inappropriate sharing. I mean, that usually needs no explanation. There's never a good use for profanity online, sexual content, drug use, or any other types of irresponsible posts. We have to remember, what you post online, it's your online reputation, which is an extension of your online behavior, which is a reflection of your offline character. So please keep that in mind with everything you post online. Constructive sharing. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with somebody. As a matter of fact, I actually, when I give big presentations, I encourage people to go out there and agree to disagree with people in a constructive way. But the moment you find your tone starting to become combative or nasty, that's when you need to learn to click out. There's a difference between constructive versus combative. But there's no better way than to showcase your knowledge and what you know about your topic than to disagree or have a healthy debate. But have a healthy debate, a constructive debate, not a combative or nasty one. Know your audience when you're sharing. Who are you sharing with exactly? Are you sharing with your friends and family? Or are you sharing with your colleagues, maybe your boss? Before you put something online, be sure you know who you're sharing it with. You know, Facebook has had this great feature that so many people don't take advantage of, and it's creating lists. Take the time to create lists for just your friends and family so that when you go on your vacation, you're not sharing it with all your cyber acquaintances that you barely know. And I constantly tell people this, there's really no such thing as privacy online, but we can at least try, especially when you're sharing your, kids online. I mean, I'm a big one. I hardly ever share any of my private family members or anything online, but there's a lot of people that do overshare online. But when you do, create lists so that it's not going all over the internet. So now part 2 of helping our kids choose kindness is developing digital resilience. 5 ways.
Before we move on, Sue, let me reinforce. You were saying about creating lists, and in fact, is a great tool for us to segmentate our audiences. The feeling I have, and I don't know if you also have that feeling, and I'm included, most people don't use lists. They usually publish for the whole world to see,
right,
or just for their friends. Do you also have that feeling that most people do not create those lists to segment their posts?
I can absolutely, they don't. As a matter of fact, when I speak, around the country here, and I go into big conferences, they all look at me like, deer in headlights. They didn't even realize that they could do this. And I know they don't do it because I'm not sure about you, but I can wake up in the morning and go down my news feed, and I see people's, birth of children, weddings. I barely know these people. And I think what frustrates me more is those first day of school photos. And I wrote an article about this on Huffington Post several years ago, because there are so many predators, this online, especially the pornography, child pornography online. And these parents just so openly overshare their children's photos from birth on. And I don't know these. I mean, I call it cyber acquaintances, because that's what we are, cyber acquaintances. We accept friendships because they're mutually friends with someone else. I personally have stopped doing that. My Facebook account was created for me way back in 2007 when Facebook went public by Reputation Defender, who created my whole profile because I had hired them, when I won that landmark case for internet defamation. So I wasn't familiar with, I don't even know probably half of the 5,000 people that I'm not really friends with. So you have to be really careful. I do have lists though on mine. Not everyone does, so I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it would benefit all of us to do that.
Absolutely. So I don't create lists because most of the use that I do for Facebook is mostly professional, but I also publish some personal content. What I find myself doing lately is reducing the amount of personal content that I publish, mostly focused on professional content. But I wonder, those that are following us, I would like to know if you want to share with us, do you create lists when you post on Facebook? Let us know. Just say lists yes or lists no, so that we can get some additional feedback. Sorry, I interrupted you.
How many people do, because I will share with you, when I'm speaking out in big conferences, the majority look at me like, oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, and they're really thankful for that tip, and they start doing that. So yeah, that's a great idea. But I mean, I do, but I'm like you. I don't share a lot of
Mhm.
personal stuff. Maybe because I see so much of it that I don't do it. But my daughter does, by the
Right.
way.
Mhm.
She doesn't listen to me. Why
For
not?
sure.
You know.
Mhm.
But anyway, so what we have to understand is our kids today, kids, students, children, they're always going to be an app ahead of us. As a matter of fact, they're probably always going to be more cyber savvy than us. But one thing they're always going to need from us is parenting wisdom. They're always going to need us whispering in their ears as they're holding their devices and they're trying to make a hard decision online. So this is why we need to have these frequent conversations with them and help them develop digital resilience. Being forewarned is being forearmed. So we're going to start with number one. Prepare. You can change slides. Preparing them for the ugly side of social media. For mean memes, that's okay. For mean memes, you can change the. From mean memes to twisted truths to outright lies, the sexting scandals, the ugly poll contest, the predators. You know, parents from years ago and still today will blame the apps, from whether it's Juicy Campus to Burn Book to Yik Yak to Ask FM. I've talked to parents, you know, crisscrossing the country, and they always love to point the finger at the apps. At the end of the day, apps will be here today and gone tomorrow, but what doesn't change is human behavior. Cyberbullying and online hate stems from human behavior, and we can't even change human behavior, but what we can change is how we respond to it. And this is what we have to teach our kids about, which brings us to number two. We're preparing them for what they're going to be facing online, so let's now prepare them for number two, how to respond.
Before we go,
Go ahead.
before you go into number two, Marise is asking a question. She's
Sure.
saying that you have 5,000 followers, and she's asking, can I ask, let me bring the question in, can I ask you why you keep the 5,000 or more? Why not take them out?
Oh, I have started. I have started deleting them. It's timely because I have to figure out who I really don't know and who I do know. And I have every weekend put aside like 15 minutes to start sifting them out. Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't like date them of when they came in. Some of them are just
Right.
old. I've been taking out all the ones that are like the egg, that they don't have a face. Yes, I am
Right.
taking
Mhm.
out. Every weekend I spend 15 minutes deleting.
Mhm.
I have started that.
Okay, and I've seen you also have two different pages on Facebook. One which is a page, and another is a public profile. Am I right?
You're correct. That you have to, in order to have pages, you have to have a private. You have to have a personal one. Because I would get rid of the personal one altogether if I could. Because I'm like you, I really don't post a lot. But I have my author's page. And what's funny about that is on my author's page, there's probably maybe 1,500 followers. On my personal page, there's like 5,000 of people that I don't know, by the way. There's probably 100 people I know. And then on my Help Your Teens, my business page, I have a lot on that one.
And Marisa is adding that she has the same problem. So she's also so that question was whether she could get some hints from you on what to do with those followers. And she adds, and I feel that maybe I'll be perceived as not nice when she starts
No, they don't know when you delete them, by the way. They won't know when you unfollow. First of all, I've unfollowed so many people from our politics alone. I have hit unfollow. I unfollow people that overshare, especially people that overshare children. That bothers me so much. I unfollow a lot of people. I unfollow people that talk too much about politics because I don't do any politics on any social platform. So I use unfollow a lot, but the actual delete button, they don't have notifications that let them know that they've been unfollowed or deleted. So you don't have to worry about that, especially when I don't know them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. You can do it.
Yeah. Abilio Carvalho is saying he needs to learn how to pronounce, and he says, I do not publish photos of family, and I have a closed page under the name family page for the family to publish photos, and of tours I only publish the landscapes. And
I think
that
it's perfect. I only put
that
for dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a lovely one. I've seen those.
Yeah.
Is a Labrador, I believe.
I feel so strongly about this. I really do. I just feel so strongly. You know, all of us grew up with raising our children, and people would come over and look at the photo albums on our coffee tables, and we survived. I don't know why people are so comfortable putting their children's picture globally.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
we have
my opinion, nobody else's. I'm not asking anybody to follow my opinion.
I want to have a question also, Tito, if I can.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so when you said we should prepare our children, our youngsters, for the ugly side of social media, so we shouldn't hide it, right? Because as parents, we often tend to hide the most negative parts of the real life and online life, and it seems that's wrong. We should prepare them to face that ugly face, but at the same time, I think it's a very difficult attitude for parents, but an important one, right?
Oh, absolutely, because you don't want them to be all of a sudden like pornography. Porn is one of the top Google, number 2 Google word for young people. We want them to be prepared when they hit it, that they can even feel comfortable coming to you to ask them about it. So absolutely, we have to prepare them for the ugly side of social media. They have to be prepared if they get sent a dick pic. Hopefully I'm allowed to say that, because this is happening to kids, or they're sent a nude. It's happening today more than you and I would like to know it's happening. It's happening. They have to be prepared if they wake up one morning. I interviewed the young girl in my book about it, and she goes into high school to realize that she ended up number 4 on an ugly poll contest. Oh my gosh. I mean, a young girl that had no idea that she was even known in school. And she just was mortified. I mean, she could have ended up taking her life, but you know, she was prepared because her mom had always talked to her and built up her self-esteem, so it didn't destroy her. These are things we have to prepare our kids for, because this is the ugly side of social media today.
Right.
Absolutely. One of the strategies that my kids are already grown up, they're in their 20s, but I have nephews and grandnephews are the ones that are smaller nowadays. And one of the things that our family does is we've created a secret group on Facebook. So it's not searchable, and we only add people who are actually within the family, and that's the only place where we share the kids. One sister's daughter has also created a group specifically because she is in charge and she knows who she wants to show the pictures to. So she's the only one that is allowed to add people to the group, and as a secret group, it's something that only people she wants to have access will have access to those pictures. Abílio Carvalho is also saying, I like paper pictures, but in a society where lunch, snack, and dinner are networked, how do you feel a young man who wants to show his daily life? And that's a fact, you know. We show our daily meals, we show everything. People nowadays. 2 days ago, I went to a concert with my 2 brothers that were visiting from abroad. So we took them to a concert, and I was surprised because everybody in the rows in front of us were at their mobiles, either messaging people or filming the show or taking pictures of the show. Even at the entrance and in an announcement, they were saying that no photographing and no pictures, no filming was allowed. I was really surprised.
You know what
People don't enjoy the moment.
You know what's interesting when you say that is you take a picture as you're at this concert or whatever it is that you're doing, and then you're not in the moment. You're not in the moment. You're not enjoying that moment that you spent all this money to go see the concert, or let's say you go out to California hiking, whatever you went out to do, you're not in the moment to really take it in. So you took the video, you took the whatever. I always ask that person, okay, so you went home with that video. How many times did you look at it afterwards? You didn't. It just sits there stored on your phone. And you really never go back and look at it over and over again. But you know what you missed? You missed that moment. You missed that moment, especially if it's a moment with your child, you know? And I think it's just so important that all of us, like, I raised my kids without, I'm like, my kids are in their 30s, by the way. So we didn't have cell phones back then. When we went to Disney World, we enjoyed Disney World. You know, we had little Instamatics and stuff. And I have all the pictures in boxes, you know, and we can look at them, but we don't even go through those boxes too often. I can promise you, people are not sliding on their phones after they've wasted their moments with those pictures. So think about that next time, you know.
And it's a pleasure, as Abilio was saying, that he likes paper pictures.
Right.
My older sister has a packs of photo albums, and it's delightful to go to her place and look at pictures of the 80s when we were growing up and things like that.
I agree.
Yeah. Marisa Monteiro also says that she has the same practice in family group where I share the face of her boys. And Adelina Silva has also joined us. So boa noite, good evening, Adelina, and welcome. Glad to have you. So I interrupted you, Sue, and you were referring to item 2, report, flag, and block
so
abusive
what we want to do is, after we prepared them for the ugly side, we have to help them understand how to report, flag, and block abusive content. And one of the ways to help them become stronger reporters is teaching them the moment that they sign up for any social platform, they have to learn the terms of service as it pertains to online harassment. What constitutes harassment? What constitutes hate speech? Because this way they're better able to spot it. And most importantly, all the kids need to understand, as soon as that they're being harassed, or they've received a nude, or they're being extorted, they have to tell an adult. Telling a friend, a parent, any trusted adult, if they are being, you know, extorted or sextortion, of course you have to go to the authorities. But I can't tell you, this is another topic that every time I go out and speak, parents are like, I didn't even think about the terms of service, because you think of terms of service as like 50 pages long. I'm not telling you, although everyone agrees to them, you're very quick just to agree to get on that platform. At least read the section that pertains to harassment and abuse. Have your child understand exactly what harassment means, especially when it pertains to hate speech or racial slurs, so that when they go to report it, they become a stronger reporter. Because if you know how to report abuse, you're more likely to get it removed, or the perpetrator removed from the platform too. I learned all this again way back when I was part of Reputation. I'm still a spokesperson for Reputation Defender. I love that company. They saved my life after I was defamed online. And this is stuff that they taught me. Everybody that would go out there and defame me, I would report it. I would read the terms of service and write up the report in conjunction to their terms of service of how it was violating their terms of service. And I would get the slanderous and bullying behavior removed off the content. So we just have to educate our young people on the terms of service and what constitutes abuse. And now number 3 is really important. Okay, do you have questions?
Before you, yes, there are. And before we move to number 3, Marta Melo is saying, let me bring the comment in. In my opinion, helping teenagers on the subject, will also have to go through the digital education of the begins on their parents' social networks. What do you think about this?
I couldn't agree 1,000%. Over here in the States, we have what's called cyber civics. Diana Graeber has founded it and teaches it through, I think it's in 47 or 43 states now. And most of our schools have it, but cyber civics is the digital education. And I think it's just as important as like math and science, because today, without your online reputation, without your online behavior, it's going to impact your entire future. Like I said, from college scholarships, from your potential employee, everything you do online affects where you're going in your future. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we need digital education. And for the younger kids,
absolutely,
and Diana starts teaching it right in middle school, and then right up to high school. And her latest book, what is it? Raising Humans in a Digital World. I can't recommend it highly. I mean, it's just priceless, because it's all her curriculum in there.
I have to send her an invitation so that we can do a live with her. Another thing is, everything you do offline that gets recorded and posted on the internet usually also gets back at you. And
Correct.
we've seen, and you've posted recently examples of that, like things like passenger shaming and stuff like that. Do you want to elaborate something on that?
We just the passenger shaming, but we just had the yesterday or today, the Panera Bread, the employee at Panera Bread.
Right.
I wrote a lot about, they loved your GPA till they saw your tweets, or people at the where was it, the Domino's pizza employee. There's so many examples of people. The lady at the the lady at the bar who had the fit and she got fired. Remember, she was a newscaster. She went into a rage outside, started yelling some racial slurs. What you need to remember is we live in this era of aim and shame. On every corner you're at, somebody is just ready right there to videotape you when you're at your least opportune moment. I mean, you have a meltdown at a cashier. I mean, I always say this, especially at like Christmas shopping or something. You're pissed off at a waiter. Don't do it. If you're at a red light and you're about to have road rage, don't do it. In my book, we wrote about a lady that was she was known as Mercedes Mom because she was driving a Mercedes, and she gave the finger to these joggers, runners people on running, because they like slowed her down. Well, they gave her the finger, but they doxed her, which was really bad. If you're not familiar with doxing, it's where they took her license plate, found out where she lived. They started sending her threats. Two wrongs don't make a right. But then they tried to get her fired. And I mean, this is where we are today in our world, by the way, with technology. So they found her name. They started posting her name all over the place. I'm not going to double shame her by naming her again. But again, it's where we are today.
And you don't even need to have an online presence. You don't need to use Facebook, Twitter, or any of those services to be cyberbullied, basically.
No, you don't. Look at the wedding shaming that's going on too. How about, you can send out invitations that people are offended by, and right off the bat, you're on Facebook wedding shaming accounts. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, you can't do anything anymore. Mom shaming, parent shaming. I'm not a proponent of the kids, the teens, like shaming your kids. I don't agree with that.
Me neither. But unfortunately, that's a way some parents seem to have found that shaming their kids is an educational tool.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
no, there's no winners. There's no winners in that.
Absolutely.
And that's another way of destroying your teen's online reputation too, because don't think colleges won't see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Abílio Carvalho is also asked services fine print. Sorry, let me bring the comment in. Oops. Okay. Terms of service in fine print. Is it not time to change the so-called terms of what is being done to change and protect all adults and children?
Well, first, I think Instagram is slowly making changes as Facebook is slowly making changes. I have to tell you, they're doing a lot better job than what I thought they would ever do. I hate to sit back and criticize because they are trying to make changes. And when we look at the terms of service, and even Twitter, I mean, and I've never thought I would say this, but I mean, Twitter did come out with the mute button. They came out with the block button. They never had that years ago. They came out with ways that you can report. But I mean, I don't know how. I've never reported anything. Some people say they're quick. Some people say they're not. Again, I haven't had. Thank God I haven't had to report anything on there. But these are all tools and features that they haven't had before. Now, Instagram coming out with Restrict, which I understand is working for some people. Instagram and both Facebook removing the like button, I think is a tremendous, I'm a total proponent for that, for mental health reason. And we have too many kids, and that's where getting into number 3 is living for likes. Too many kids out there living their life for how many likes they have, this false sense of reality, of judging their popularity on how many likes they have online. But anyway, online is not reality. That's what number 3 is. And this is something that we really need to remind our kids almost on a daily basis. I was actually watching a segment of the Today Show a few weeks ago, and they interviewed this little girl, this 13-year-old, and they asked these teenagers, what is the one thing you wish your parent told you about the internet? And they were talking about Instagram at the time that you didn't know about. And the one little girl said, I wish my mom told me that everything online isn't true. And this is what we need to constantly remind our kids of. And what I like to remind parents when I go into sessions or conferences is that, especially Instagram, it's nothing but a movie trailer. Instagram is like a movie trailer. It's a false sense of reality. Kids or people, adults too, let's call it what it is. Adults, people, they give you the highlights of their life, the reels, the highlights, the reels of their life, like a movie trailer. You only see the best parts. And then when you go in to see the movie, sometimes it can really suck. It's not really what you think it is. And this is what the kids and adults are doing too on Instagram. And this is what you have to try to remind your children of. And they're using these filters to make them look, I wish I had it on now, to make them look themselves beautiful. And they really don't look that way. I mean, this is what online is. It's not reality. And it's why they call it fake book, not Facebook a lot of times, and this is where we get the social media envy from. And the kids scroll through with this sense of compare and despair attitude. And of course, catfishing, we always have to remind them of the people that disguise themselves and they're not the real person behind the screen. So really understanding that online can be very deceptive is part of developing this digital resilience. Yeah. Questions? So number 4 is critical.
Actually, we have one.
Yeah.
And not really a question, but more or less a reflection.
Yeah.
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 And I don't think that will be a solution, like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. I don't think that's the way to go.
Yeah. But critical thinking is helping our kids understand the consequences of what they post. We have to understand, again, we have 75% of colleges, 80% of businesses, or 70% of businesses, I guess it was, that are screening not only your content, but your social media behavior. In other words, how you interact with other people. Are you kind to other people? Do you volunteer at different organizations? Your social media behavior is just as important as your content. So this is where we go back to, they loved your GPA until they saw your tweets. And this one football coach actually wrote, don't let your 140 character tweet jeopardize, and that was way back when it was 140 characters, don't jeopardize your scholarship. I mean, this is how important we have your online reputation, your posts are today. And it goes back to I forget who it was that asked the question about digital education, the importance of digital education today. Your future really relies on it, in my opinion. I really firmly believe it should be like a core class, a class that these kids need to take. And number 5, go ahead.
Before we go to number 5, Billy Carvalho also has another question. The problem is the 15 minutes of fame. The young people, almost everyone, think they can be famous and they get into complicated situations. What to do?
What we have to do is these constant, frequent offline conversations to help the parents explain to these kids that the 15 minutes of fame is not worth the long-term ramifications. Because sure, there's some kids that are going to have longer than 15 minutes of fame, but at the end of the day, we have to continuously show them the headlines of the tweet regrets and post remorse, of people being fired for these, because trust me, there's a lot more people that lose jobs and college scholarships, like the Harvard kids, than there are of people that have become famous in 15 minutes. And what is 15 minutes? 15 minutes of fame is never worth a lifetime of humiliation. And it's something that we have to constantly remind the kids of and show them the headlines of it. You look at Lindsay Stone, you look at Justine Sacco. These are simple, the Lindsay Stone case is a great example for Facebook. Had she had lists, maybe, just maybe, she'd still have a job. Do you know that story? Do people know the Lindsay Stone? If you don't know the Lindsay story, you should look it up. She posted a picture of herself on vacation at the Arlington Cemetery over here in Virginia, and she was given the finger, just being totally a kid. She was a young adult. It went viral because somebody took the Facebook picture and lifted it and shared it, because she didn't have it locked down. You have to, if you're on Facebook, lock it down. Just lock it down, because somebody thought it was funny. Well, then, like, the military people got involved, and this one she lost her job, she lost friends, she was shamed. I mean, and she just couldn't get a job for years. I don't even know if she still has a job. But it was just a horrific case. So anyway, number 5.
But those examples are important so that people make a connection and understand the implications.
Well, and to that gentleman's point, it's how we can really help. Our kids need tangible examples, and when you show them these things that happened in real life and how people's lives were ruined, that's what they truly understand. It's no different than I frequently point to, like Amanda Todd, who committed suicide after sending a nude out. It's these stories, these true stories, that can really impact, and our kids can, oh wow, that can happen. Yes, sadly, these things do happen.
Absolutely. Can you repeat the name? You mentioned the Lindsay Stone case and another one. The other one?
Who was Amanda Todd?
No, another.
Amanda Todd was the suicide. She's the one that she put it on the video. It's on YouTube where it's tragic. And I have to tell you, I gave my 9-year-old granddaughter a cell phone at 9 years old, and I wrote a piece for the Washington Post about it, and my editor there was like, you're going to get a lot of flack for that. And I said, I'm going to tell you, I actually had my 9-year-old sit down and watch the Amanda Todd video. Before Amanda took her life, she she put that video out. Have you guys watched the video? I'm sure you.
The case in Portugal was
It's very,
widely
very
known.
important. Again, preparing your kids for the ugly side of social media. If they're going to be responsible to have a device, we have to prepare them for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm. We're going to, on the 28th, we're going to have two Canadian moms whose young children committed suicide following bullying and cyberbullying cases. And those are limit situations, drastic situations.
Tragic.
But tragic.
Yeah. And this is why, wouldn't you rather talk to
people to be aware of them?
Yeah, this is why I say I'd rather talk to them offline about it than, you know. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. You were going to into item number 5.
Number 5, finally, in helping develop digital resilience is helping our kids, giving kids ways to get offline and helping them socialize in real life. Actually helps develop empathy for others. And what's really interesting here is in a screen education survey last year, the majority of teens would actually rather socialize in person with their friends than online. And they actually want their parents to give them boundaries, which was, I thought, really, really interesting. You know, as much as we think our kids are so addicted and hooked to their devices, they want someone to take it away from them. They want to interact with people face to face. And if you think about it, I think we as adults are the same way too, but we're always just grabbing for our phones because it's almost like habit. So how can we give teens ways to cut screen time? Well, at home as parents, let's find that device-free time, you know, especially at mealtime. Number 2, mealtime. Let's remember that mealtime is for eating and engaging, not emails. And it starts with us as parents. I mean, I've seen parents that will tell their kids, you can't have your devices, but yet dad will be there, oh, but I have this email coming in from my boss. Can't do that, you know? And you have to set boundaries. Kids want the guidelines, they want the boundaries. Go online and find a smartphone contract. You can just type it in. I know many, like Family Online Safety has one. There's, I'm sure you wherever you are in the world, there's going to be smartphone contracts. They actually want these boundaries. And I think a really important thing, and I've done this myself, is limit the notifications on your gadgets. And this is another thing. Whenever I'm at a conference, people are like, oh, you can do that? How do you do that? Well, you go down, you know, you go in your settings and just turn off that Instagram, turn off Facebook. You don't need to have the bells and whistles every time those alerts come, somebody posts something. And I think one of the most, right? And one of the most important things is it can wait. You know, don't text and drive, lead by example. I mean, this is a big one. I have so many parents out there that turn to their kid, and the kid will say, but mom, you do it. Yes, but I'm an experienced driver. You know,
no.
I write for AT&T for their It Can Wait campaign. And I can tell you, no one is an experienced driver when it comes to texting and driving. 5 seconds and you can kill someone on the road, you know, with texting and driving. It can wait.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And there are endless cases that show us that. Abilio Carvalho is also saying, in the past we had the jackass and the malt, thought it was funny. Today we have the chains of challenges, internet challenges for almost everything. Then we have the consequences of bullying of those who make the sad figures. The school and society and parents, what can they do? I guess it's what we've been talking about, these 5 items that you've been enumerating. That's what school, families, and society can do, right?
You know, one of the problems that we see is that parents don't get involved. I can tell you, and I know you see on our social networking group, we have that great guy, Joe. He'll go out there, he'll try to give a conference. Parents don't show up. Parents need to get involved, you know, and they all complain about the issues. They all want to tell you their problems. But then when you give them an expert that's coming in town, no one shows up. And I find that really disheartening. So I think one of the important things is parents need to start getting involved. And you know, I don't know what the answer is there, but parents need to be involved more. You know.
Parent involvement, I agree, is crucial. We have another question from Marisa Monteiro, and she's asking, as a legal mom, is a small column I write for Delft Mamas. The next topic is exactly the basic tools for parents to empower their children online. So take notes, Marisa, take notes. Adelina Silva is also saying the online life, in my point of view, is an extension of the real life behavior. If teens are kind or empathic in real life, they usually are kind and empathic.
I couldn't agree more. If we go quickly into becoming an upstander, go to real quickly here.
Yes.
That's what I say. In the next one, go to the next screen. Becoming an upstander, and number one is, what do you do when you see hate? If you don't want to perpetrate it, or you always want to report it, you just move forward. Go forward one. The three things how to become an upstander is, number one, when you see hate, you don't perpetrate it. You report it and flag it. You never want to retweet it or engage it. And what people have to understand too, even if you see a snarky meme, that like a cruel joke, don't like it. Liking it is the same as endorsing it. And people think, oh, it's kind of funny, especially during our politics. And it was so, in my opinion, so rude. Don't forward it, don't engage in it at all. Endorsing or energizing hate actually gives it light and credence. Number two, this is really important. Go on to the next one for a second. What would you do if you see someone struggling online? One of the biggest things, especially I know because if people don't know this, I was a target, a victim of shaming and harassment. I won $11.3 million internet defamation, a landmark case here in the States. So I know what it's like. If you see someone struggling out there, find a way to reach out to them. I don't care if you have to text them, email them, call them, send them an emoji, a heart one, something that you know what it means. Do something to let them know they're not alone. We have seen a lot of Nice It Forward campaigns going on out there now, which I think is fabulous. But we have to go out there and start reaching out to people that are struggling and let them know they're not alone. We have seen suicide climbing, and we have to be part of stopping it. And then finally, number three, this is what she was talking about. Who is the digital you? What does your online reflection say about you? This is, parents love this, and educators. Take the 20, 40, 60 challenge. Every time you're about to post something out there, look at it as if you're a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, and a 60-year-old. And if it passes all those age groups, you're doing pretty good. And remember, you are what you post, you know, and your words and tone matter out there. All capitals is screaming. If you're not aware of that, using a lot of exclamation points can be a little bit, you know, like screaming too. So you want to really tone it down a bit and be interested in others. If you're someone that's constantly, I unfollow people that do this too, constantly boasting and humble bragging about yourself, but you're never engaging in others, stop it. Because when I say who is the digital you, I tell people at least once a month, go back down your streams and look at what you're posting. Review yourself. That's why I take the 20, 40, 60 challenge. And remember, kindness is contagious, and it starts with us. And I remind parents that 58% of teens, over half, say that we are their biggest influence. So it's our online behavior that they're watching. That's it.
So wrapping up, and would like to let everybody know that you're the author of Shame, the Global Epidemic Nation of Online 8, a book that is available on Amazon. Online bookstores. We still have a couple of questions. Marisa Monteiro is saying, I believe we need to help each other as parents. This is my voluntary input. While a drop in the ocean, I want to believe all efforts count.
I agree.
And I guess that's true. Couldn't agree with it more. Bill Carvalho is also saying today's society prefers to film than to help raise education at home. Is losing the fight for social networks and for the direct, even to show violence and bullying. Yes, we tend to give more. If somebody is drowning, people tend to film it instead of helping. It's
By the
unfortunate.
But the PowerPoint presentation is on my website if anybody wants to have it. It's the website, the link is right there, SueScheff.com, digital-parenting-webinar.
And let me also, I would like you, if could just say a few words of the other books that you have written before, but are now out of print, but some people might find them interesting and might find some how you call it, secondhand stores.
There's
versions
available. Advice and resources for saving your out-of-control teen is about how to find residential treatment centers. It's my story of myself and my daughter, and finding residential treatment therapeutic boarding schools. And then I wrote Google Bond, which is the true story of winning my landmark case for internet defamation, which was a pretty big case back in 2003, and I won the case in 2006 here in the States. And they're both still available.
And
like
you
on
also
Amazon or eBay. I'm sorry?
Okay, and you are also you also run the parents resource experts, right? This website that I've also listed here.
Yes,
and can you tell us a bit about it?
I work with parents of struggling teens that are looking for residential treatment centers and therapeutic boarding schools here in the States. So that's what I do full time. Well,
okay. If you want to find more about Sue's work, you can find her on our website. She's also on LinkedIn and Instagram, and also on Twitter. And you can also find her on Facebook. Those are the social media platforms that she uses and where you can find her. Can I have 5 more minutes of your time, Sue? So
sure.
just tell viewers what we have in store for them for the next days, and give me a minute or two to introduce the following Facebook Lives that we're going to have. And meanwhile, I'll leave you with a question to end the session, which is give you some time to think about, is please leave us a piece of advice for parents and for teachers of educators. If you could only give us one piece of advice, what would it be? And think about it. Meanwhile, I'm going to tell what we have in store during the following days. Tomorrow will be off, so there won't be a Facebook Live, but we'll be back on October the 17th with a guest from the US, a lawyer named Perry Aftab. Is someone with whom I've learned a lot since 2003 on internet safety. And we also have Heather Mullen and Roisin Mullen from Canada. And we'll be talking about youth empowerment and leadership to stop cyberbullying. That is October 17th. October 18th, we have another Portuguese guest, Inês Freire de Andrade. She runs a bullying prevention association out of Portugal. She's a young woman, and she'll be talking about how to end bullying through empathy and helping each other. So those are the sessions that we have to end the week. And would like to thank you once again, Sue, for being available. And it was a pleasure to learn with you. What will be your best piece of advice for parents and for teachers and educators?
My best piece of advice I usually love to tell parents is never allow a headline to go in vain. I think communication is key, and most people know this, but keeping those lines of communication open is so difficult, especially with today's teens. So whenever you see a headline, good or bad, make it an opportunity to open up a discussion with your child about anything online, about anything. I think dialogue with kids today is so important, keeping those lines of communication open. Because the more you talk to your child, the more they're going to come to you and trust you when they have any type of problem, online or offline. But today, it's just, we're living in a really troubling time, I think all over the world. So you really want to make sure that when your child is in trouble, that they come straight to you and they don't have any hesitation, because we see it so many times that, but the parent, I had no idea. You hear the parents say, no, but she was so happy. He was so happy. I had no idea. Keep those lines of communications open. Never let a headline go in vain.
That's a great piece of advice. Can I add something to it? I
Sure.
Just saw a post, actually a tweet by a woman that I found absolutely brilliant. Her father wrote her a note and saying, whenever you get into trouble, pick up this note and bring it to me as a reminder that my priority is not to get mad at you, but to help you to get out of the trouble you are in. And I think this is just brilliant, because that's one of the things that bullies and predators usually gamble on. They know that the victims will be silent because they are afraid to tell their parents or a trusted adult. So this note that she found on her drawer, among her clothes, is something that she shared. I think it was a great piece of. There are two more questions to end with. Marisa Monteiro, and she's asking quick thoughts about LinkedIn. Personal opinion of Sue.
I like LinkedIn. That LinkedIn. There was just a survey that came in, I think last week, from Cybersmile, which is, I think that's over in the UK. LinkedIn is like one of the least spots where you find harassment and bullying, so cyberbullying. So I happen to like LinkedIn. I don't do a lot on it, but I'm pretty open over there, and they post good articles, and I like LinkedIn, and they're more professionals over there.
Okay, we're just reaching the end. Abilio Carvalho is saying, what an excellent session that gave the guys a reminder of the English they only used to read the terms. And Antonio João Silva is also saying, great session. The interruptions show everyone's interest in the subject. That's true. Filipa Matos is saying, and welcome, Filipa. Nice to have you. She's following us from Faro, which is down south in southern Portugal. Good evening from Faro. Interesting theme for me and the little boys right here. Congratulations. By the way, they just fell asleep, the children, but before, when they were seeing the risks, I was translating those to them. They told me they forgot to talk about the dangerous apps. Just sharing. Great work, and thank you.
Yeah,
and that's true. There are also apps that are used. There are
definitely, yeah. I think my philosophy that we just have to understand that almost every app can be dangerous. It's how we use them, but there are some that are truly bad for sure, you know.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. It meant
Thank you.
very much to us
Thanks
to have
a
you.
lot
It was a
too.
pleasure.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. It was very, very interesting. In particular, very rich in guidance for parents. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And don't forget, those that are watching, thank you for watching us. Either if you're watching us live or you're watching the recording, don't forget that Sue's presentation is available at the following link, and let me show it once again: suechef.com/digital-parenting-webinar, where you can have a presentation. Thanks a million. It was a pleasure to have you with us and learn with you, and we'll see again soon. And to all of those following us, good morning.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
See you online.
Good night.
Online.
Yeah, that's true.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
You too.